Hello, welcome back J206. Today, right now, I thought I would do a quick demonstration of a line chart, which is a chart that tracks progression over time, typically. And thinking about data to create this quick line chart with, I thought I would use Shaylee's demonstration, or rather data, talking about the NIRA rodeo standings. Shaylee was talking about mapping things over time and totaling up points, which is a great idea to do. And so this is a great site that talks about standings and contains standings for all these different regions. We're going to look at the West Coast region, which is where we are at Quest College, and then we're going to look at what we have. And the first thing I see as I scroll down is a lot of data in table form on the web, which is pretty easy to read on the web. But if I try to copy this data, for instance, men's all around like this, it's going to give me a lot of extra stuff that I'm going to have to clean up if I pasted this into a spreadsheet. Now I have a Google Sheets doc open, and so if I paste this in just as an example, it's going to give me a lot of extra stuff. So numbers, names, abbreviation, and then numbers again, rather places and the numbers here. So that's not really what I want to do if I don't have to do it that way. I would much rather have all this information in one spreadsheet. So instead of hand copying this, at least to start, I'm going to look around the site and say, do they have any data here? Resources. Oh, and I see downloads. So I'm going to click on that download page and see if there are some standings data spreadsheets available for me to download in some kind of format. So I hit the download page, I see a rulebook, grants, membership forms, schedule and forms, insurance, and national champions, which this data could be fun to map from 1949 on. But I don't see the data that I really want. So what do? I'm going to hit the contact. I know that it's highly likely that somebody kept a spreadsheet with all this data. And so I'm going to find out who I can talk to. And I scroll down the staff here and I see Sarah Neely, the Director of Public Relations and Admin, probably is a great place to start. So if I was going to do this, if I was Shaylee or if I was somebody else on any other site, I would do it the same way. I would send her an email and say, hey, I would like to map or visualize rather some data from the NIRA over the past season and see if she would send me a spreadsheet. Now, she might well send me a spreadsheet that I have to do some organizing and cleaning up of, but that would perhaps be a lot easier than cutting and pasting directly from the website. So I would send her an email. For the purposes of this demonstration, I'm not going to send her an email. I'm going to actually do that cutting and pasting. So I'm not going to do all of it, and but I'm going to give you an idea of how to do that for a line chart. So again, we go back to West Coast region. I'm going to start looking at some data. What do I want to visualize? Shaylee, I'm sorry, Shaylee. I keep calling you Shayla because I know a Shayla as well, but it's Shaylee talked about looking at all this across. So, which is a great idea for a line chart for one group or one school or multiple schools, multiple groups, or multiple competitions. Bareback riding, for instance, bull riding, on down. You can look at a lot of different things. You want to look at things as a discrete category, however. So I would really want to look at on a line chart. One line would represent saddle bronc riding, or one section, and then bareback riding. I wouldn't try to necessarily combine all those points together. I would look at one. So I'm going to look at women's I'm going to look at, instead of the all-around, I'm going to look at the team scores. So women's team scores from, where are we, as of May 8th. So that was the most recent one. I'm actually going to start at the top. I'm going to start up here on 929 because that's where I want my lines to actually start, on the left side. So before we jump into grabbing that data, I want to let you know there's a couple of resources that you should also keep in mind. On the Datawrapper Academy blog, How to Create a Line Chart, this is exactly what we are doing. Creating a line chart just like this. As you see in the bottom, 2004, 5, 6, dates run from left to right. And in this case, they're charting the iPhone and the iPad and the iPod in units sold. And so units run up the y-axis and dates run on the x-axis. And then the names of the products actually are the lines that jump around. And we've annotated, or rather They've been anointed or annotated here with the names, and we can do that too down the road with our line graph. However, what format do we want to put all this data in and match our school and point total information from the rodeos? Well, to create a line chart on the first column running long, we need to include all the dates. So if I jumped back to the West Coast region dates, I would say starting with October 23, okay, but I need to start with the dates running down here. So these are actually going to be my first column, column A all the way down. I'm going to have all these dates, which is 6 or 8 or 9 or so, I guess, if you counted those up. And then running across are all the names of the products. And so that would be Quest College, San Luis, or Cal Poly, and so on and so forth. And then these numbers here represent the points corresponding to each rodeo or each date here. So I'm going to set up my spreadsheet just like this. And in the end, it's going to create something like this. Or here's another example of average temperature, where again we see the dates running left to right, and then the numbers running on the y-axis up and down on the vertical axis. In this case, we have 4 cities and their average temps. So in the case of Shaylee's data, we're going to have 6 or 7 schools. We're going to have the dates for the rodeos, and we're going to have the point totals. So the first point totals will represent that first rodeo here, and then the school names. So let's set that up. I'm going to come over here, and that was where I pasted in that first set of data. So I'm going to come back and actually go back here to 929, and look at this 929 and 930. Now, before when I jumped through this, I noticed there were some interesting discrepancies here, and I'm going to click through it and talk to you about this. So September 29, it's a one-day event, results as of October 23. So they were results came out 24 days later. Okay, so for women's, I would see 5 places, 506 for Cal Poly. And then I copy those in, and I'm ready to go. And I click through the next one, which is I see the rodeo is the next day, also in September on the 30th. And however, results as of October 4. Now, maybe somebody forgot to add the 2 there to make it 24, or maybe somebody really did input the results backwards. At any rate, I'm trying to paste this in right now and use this, so I need to make a decision about, wait, do I start with October 23 results or results of October 4? And the dates are a little mixed up. So what I'm going to do is start with results as of October 4. And I'm going to use these numbers for the women's totals, and I'm going to just skip the previous one. Now, when you're visualizing data, you're not looking for absolute precise numbers for every single data point, and it's actually legitimate to drop a row or a column of data that can make it more complicated to understand the visualization. Again, our goal here is to help viewers see the results over time of these schools, and so we're going to expect to see lines go up and down based on point totals. But I don't want to have a September 29 and then a weird set of numbers, so you get the point there. So I'm going to pick one, and I'm going to use September 30. So I'm going to start with September 30. I'm not going to use results here, but I'm going to actually use the rodeo date here to begin where we go from. So September 30. Actually, you know what? Yeah, that's right. September 30. So West Coast College is leaderboard there. I'm going to copy all that data. I'm going to paste it into a new sheet right here. And what do we get? Okay, we get West Hills College, and then their acronym, and then the place, and then the numbers. So what do I want to do? I don't really want to show 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for this. That's going to introduce some confusing data for the spreadsheet editor, Datawrapper. So let's get rid of that. And then I'm also going to want to get rid of column C, which is abbreviations, which I do not need because I'm going to use the full names of these schools to identify them. So what I'm going to do is Control click. I'm going to just right click on my mouse. I'm on a Mac here, and I'm going to delete that column. Simple as that. There goes the column. Same thing with column A. Delete that column. And then I have my data spread out in a much more easier to read and clean format. colleges and point totals here. However, going back to how we need to actually structure our data to create a line chart. Here I'm on the Datawrapper Academy site again, how to create a line chart. I realized that I can't have the names of my schools running up and down in column A because that would not match the data, the way the data needs to be set out. In this case, I need to have my schools running across where iPhone, iPad, iMac, and iPod are, and then have my dates running up and down that A column. So what am I going to do? I'm going to have to restructure that. And now I'm going to do this by hand, and you can adjust this with the pivot table, and there's a tutorial about the pivot table, but just for the purposes of doing this very basically, I'm going to do this first set by hand. So I know that I need to put dates here and not have schools here, but I don't want to just delete all the schools because I know I want to copy and paste those schools across the top. So what I'm going to do is right click and I'm going to insert to my left one column, and there we go. So this is going to be my dates column. I'm going to actually name the, instead of calling them dates, I'm going to call them rodeos. So I'm going to name the top line rodeos, and then my school's top line here, where West Hills Colleges, will actually read schools, and then the points here will read points. So I actually need to go back. I'm going to take out that rodeos, and I'm going to insert a row above there so I can create headers. And so again, I will go rodeos, and then I will go schools, and then points. So now I have my headers, and I can, highlight them by turning them bold, or I could raise the font size to say 12. So it's real clear. I want the rodeo dates coming down here, and then the school names, and then the points. But wait a second, I'm kind of making a mistake because I was rolling along so smoothly. I wanted to do it just the way my data had come in, but I actually remember now that I need to have my schools running wide, not lengthwise, and then my points will also run wide, not long. So what am I going to do? I'm going to take schools out. I made a mistake there. And I'm going to take points out there. And I'm going to go back and make this straightforward by copying in my dates first so I don't get confused what I'm doing here. And I'm going to start with September 30, 2017. Okay, so that's my first date of my first rodeo right there. I'm going to reduce that so it doesn't throw me off here. And then what I want to do is have the schools running across here. And so I will copy and paste West Hills to there, Cal State Fresno to there, University of Nevada, Las Vegas to D, Cal Poly to E, Cuesta to F, and Feather River to G. So I've got all those. I'm going to delete those schools' names now. There they go. I'm sorry. New. Those are gone. So West Hills College on September 30, 2017, let's go back to where they were. They had 365 total points. And again, here I wish I could just copy the points and drop those in like that, but that's not going to work. So I'm going to have to hand copy over 365, Cal State, University, where are we? Which one is that? Fresno had 290. So I'm just going to do some copying and pasting here. There we go. I see, and that was 275. So what I did is drop, okay. So 275 here for UNLV, and I go back to my spreadsheet, and I realize 275, 160 corresponds, and those will run right across there. So I'm going to copy 275, 160, 70 for Cuesta College, and 65 total points from Feather River. So now I have straightened out my spreadsheet in the way that I want to create, so that I can create a line graph. And so instead of rodeos coming across here, I realize I want to, rodeos and dates. Yeah, that's great. So I'm not going to go through and add every event here. I'm going to jump. I'm going to grab, say, 412. I'm going to grab that section of points. I'll scroll down to women's team all around. And I see that I have a 7th school here. Which school was that jumped back in and started competing? So I had 6 here. Was it Lassen? Yes, it was. It was Lassen College. So I'm going to add Lassen College. Doesn't really matter where I add them. They're not like ranked here. The rankings will run vertically, not horizontally. So I can add Lassen very easily there. Lassen College is now added. For the first event there, I know they got 0, so I will just add 0 because they weren't included. If I didn't add 0, that would be okay too. The spreadsheet editor would figure that out. I don't have to copy in all the names again. I just have to grab the points. So for Cal Poly, they got 569.50, and so I'll come across here. I can always adjust my column widths by grabbing the edge of the line there and running my mouse over it, so I can, and then clicking and grabbing it over, pulling it over. So 569, and then I realized, oh, wait a second, I should get my date in there to make sure that I'm clear on what I'm doing. April 12, 2018, we go right there. Again, I don't like that font or that big, so I'll reduce it. April 12th. Okay, so here we go. And 242 goes to Feather. 242. 226 goes to Fresno. And 129 to UNLV. Can you imagine doing this for every single event? No. This is why taking a couple minutes to send an email, planning this out a couple days in advance, might save you a lot of time. It might well be worth your time on the first day, not to have to do all this the second time around. So, rather when you want to build this, because you're working on this the last day before the assignment's due. So, getting ahead of things helps. Okay, so I'm going to jump ahead to that last event on May 5, copy that date in, and results were posted 2 days later, so I'm fairly confident those are really up to date. I'll add that in. Again, you might well want to include all the data, not just 3 events worth of data. But for this example, again, UNLV got 400 points there. Pretty good. And Feather River got 372. Making a comeback, it looks like. 252 for Cal Poly. 229 for Fresno. You can imagine how easy it would be to incorporate an error here in all of your cutting and pasting because it makes you a little dizzy over time. And so, again, another great reason not to do this by hand if you can help it. So it looks like women's team on this event, there was nobody competing for Quest College. And so I just scanned that. I can tell. And then because I don't have any points there, I'm going to add a 0. And so now, what do I have? I have a spreadsheet ready to go. And I can now plot this in Datawrapper. So let's do something kind of fun about Datawrapper that I want to also include in this tutorial, which is use Google Spreadsheets and use just the spreadsheet URL to drop my data in. This is a new feature that Datawrapper only just recently released, which is pretty cool. And why it's cool is because if you say got an email from the public affairs director saying, oh, we changed the points, actually another school scored more points in this event on this day, you might say to yourself, oh, shoot, I really want to update my visualization of that. Well, how do I do that? Well, I'm going to open up your Google Sheet. You're going to open your Google Sheets, which is, again, pretty simple to, is free, and all you need is Google Gmail account address to access Google Sheets. And then your Google Sheets will live for all eternity, most likely, online in the cloud, and you can go in and change your data and then update that data with Datawrapper, and your visualization will change automatically without you doing a thing except updating the data in the spreadsheet. So why do it? That's great. That's a great reason too. So I'm going to jump back to my spreadsheet. I'm going to save it. It actually saves all the time, and I'm going to make sure to get the share here. I need to get the link. I'm going to get a shareable link. And I'm going to copy that link. Anyone with the link can edit is important. Now I could actually, probably oftentimes you will get, this will be the default. Anybody with the link can view this, but they can't necessarily edit this. Actually, I'm not sure if you need to set it to edit or view, but I'm going to set it to edit because I'm sending it directly to Datawrapper, and I think they're going to want to edit the spreadsheet in their system once you set it in. So I've copied the link. I'm going to jump over to a new upload data project with Datawrapper. Instead of pasting my copied data here, I'm going to come over here and import my Google spreadsheet, which is going to give me just a URL input. I'll paste that in and see what happens. Oh, lots of green check marks. That's a good sign. Let's proceed. And now Datawrapper will tell us what we got. We have a lot of information here, and I realize that this is showing a different set of data than showing men's, obviously, so we were pasting women's. Let's go back and look at my data and what I had here set up. I have Rodeos here, and the reason this is pulling different stuff is because I have several sheets open. So on my first sheet, I have names, and then more names, and then, aha, there's my men. That's why I'm seeing that. That's sheet 2. I was working with sheet 4 most recently. So sheet 2 is sitting there. So I actually want to use sheet 4. So I will jump back to my project, and I'm going to look around here and see where I can sort to get to just look at sheet 4. And I think that it's only showing the first sheet in the link, and that is easily fixed. So instead of having this is the men in the first sheet here, what's happening is the URL only shows the data in this first sheet. I'm going to just move sheet 4 over, and I'm just going to pick it up, grab it, and move it over. And I'm actually going to name it as well by clicking here and saying, let's rename sheet 4 to Women's All Around. Yeah, women's all around. Okay, so now that's going to be a little easier to understand. And before I grab the link again, let's just jump back over to Datawrapper and see what it gives me if I come back to upload data, same sheet, and let's proceed and see if we get the women. Aha, we do. There's my data. Perfect, beautiful. I love to see this. Named Rodeos and in West Hills, Cal State, just like I set it up here. Rodeos, West Hills, Cal State, Fresno, and so on and so forth. So my data, as far as I can see so far, is exactly the way I want it to be with my dates going down. So let's visualize this data and see what it gives me. And I want it definitely drops in as a line chart. And voila, look at those lines. I created a line chart. Very nice. I'm going to definitely insert a title here, and I'm definitely going to, well, those are big numbers. That works. And then I have 2017, 2018, and another date out there, and I'm not sure why it's not there. I'm not seeing it, but as you can see, when I roll along the lines, for instance, the Cal Poly State University line, which is this line right here that starts here, in the first meet, they scored 160 points. Now, if I want to double check that, what I can do is just jump back and say Cal Poly, did they get, in fact, on the first meet, which was September 30, they did get 160 points. So I'm doing a little fact checking here to make sure that everything lined up, and in fact it did. So there they go. And they went up here, and they got a lot of points there, and they're down to here. And I have created a line chart. There you have it. That's your first line chart, or maybe it's not your first line chart, but there you have a pretty simple working demonstration of how to do a line chart. Now, there are some other things to do to annotate, to adjust numbers, and of course I want a lot more numbers across here to give me a more refined picture of that line going up and down. And then if you also go back to the Datawrapper Academy and that original page that I talked about, how to create a line chart, it offers some really nice ways to adjust and annotate your lines in the Line Chart Academy. So I'm going to stop there for now, and I will be back with a scatter plot next, or soon, rather. Okay, take care. Good luck. I think the line charts you create will be fantastic, just like that. See you soon.